Okay, so now we're going to look at Bitcoin. And I'm going to end this segment with a Bitcoin price prediction. And I've got it backed up in two different ways. I didn't even realize lined up with each other until just now. So, because I was working it all out. Now, let's go ahead and jump to the chart and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is going to get crazy. So if we're looking at the previous cycles, now I've been calculating so many different variables of the market cycles and price action. It's crazy, but I've settled down on some of this stuff. Now, one of the key things that I look for is how many days from the halving to the peak. Now, right here from the 2016 halving to the 2017 Bitcoin price peak, we were looking at 524 days. You can see the little smiley face here showing that. Now, from here, we got the peak. From the peak, we established the widest berth of the pi cycle indicator. That berth was established from the peak of the market cycle to that widest berth of 61.68% over a period of 321 days. That's not necessarily the bottom of the price because the bottom is down here at around $4,000, but that was just the widest berth of the pi cycle. Okay. From there, we move into the 2018 market. And we have basically established from the widest berth to the next halving is about 556 days. Okay. So basically from the point where the pi cycle is the furthest apart from crossing over one another, which typically indicates the peak of the cycle, we're 556 days to the next halving. So that is from the widest berth of October 2018 to the halving of 2020. Okay. Now, from here, we move into this market. This is the 2021 market. So from the halving to the peak of November, we're looking at 540 days. We're looking at it's a very similar pattern, okay? Each market cycle. Now, what I find interesting is this. This was a two-peak cycle, whereas the 2017 market was a single peak cycle. And if we look at this, I made a note. Number 5, I believe the market was either intentionally manipulated down or the number of people watching the pi cycle top indicator were misled into thinking April was the peak, causing an outflow, dropping the price until the market picked back up for a second peak. Bitcoin should likely have gotten to around $145,000 if we take into account the drop in liquidity, the drop in money, the drop in price action ultimately, and we were to just align that to the second peak, it should have taken us to about $145,000 in 2021, but it didn't. This market was cut in half. Typically, it seems that we go one peak, two peak, one peak, two peak. And that's basically, if you go all the way back in history, you can kind of see that is how things have worked out. Now, here, the widest berth we had closer to the second peak, which wasn't very long, was 43%, all the way down to, you guessed it, the widest berth of the pi cycle indicator, 66.84%. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And then we move in to where we're at now. This takes us from the widest berth of the pi cycle, 623 days, to the halving, which is also very interesting considering the current price action appears to be about 2 months early, because we've got significant runs in the price leading up to the halving. So it's almost as if the cycle is being consolidated ahead of time so that we have one significant peak instead of two. October 2025, 550 days, one peak cycle is what I'm calling for this market. Now, another note. 623 days from the pi's widest berth to the halving, with the price action looking to be 2 months early in the cycle due to the spot ETF approvals and non-crypto money entering the space. By non-crypto money, I'm saying the number of people that are basically entering the market through paper vehicles like these spot Bitcoin ETFs. People that are saying, hey, take a portion of my 401k, take a portion of my retirement account, whatever. I'm going to go throw it over to BlackRock or Fidelity or any of these groups, and I'm going to get some exposure to Bitcoin. But they're not necessarily crypto bros. They're not people that are basically running out to exchanges, setting up their own wallets. Now, From here, we're looking at this. We can see this area of interest here, which is basically, again, the 26.56% birth of the pi cycle indicator, which is generally where we are before the market starts to run up. The question is, how far? Well, if we were to price this out or plan this out over a period of 551 days, which is the typical time period from the halving to the peak, and that takes us here, which I find extremely interesting. If we were to just cut this down to 234% from this current point we're at now, at this 26.56% birth, this takes us up to a $222,000 Bitcoin by October of 2025. Now, if we run hot and sooner, and we are 2 months early, this could happen in a much more parabolic rise, and we could hit this point probably sometime in August or September of 2025. Now, I believe that this is ultimately going to run a little bit longer because this is going to be a single peak market instead of a 2-peak run. And on top of that, this is my well, I'll read the second note here. Number 7, if I reduce the price action of the 4 lower cycle returns and set it to just 234% from the negative 26.56 of the pi cycle, this puts us in previous cycle time frames from the halving to the peak. This puts us at a $222,000 Bitcoin price in September of 2025 or July of 2025 if we run early. This time, I don't expect a 2-peak cycle. Now, I'm learning on making these notes. Now, this shows as October 2024, and I forgot that I had extended this out a little bit once I was reviewing things a little bit further, but I would basically say it's going to be pretty safe to bet between July, let's see. So we've got August, September, June, July. Yeah. So basically July to October is going to be let's just call that a window where we should be looking at the peak. Now, what's interesting is that I called this at $225,000 after doing a whole bunch of stuff, and I may not have been entirely clear based off of how I've calculated everything because I kind of run through all this weird stuff in my head as I'm trying to figure all this out and put it in writing. But I went back to this and I remembered I calculated this out to be about $4.7 trillion in market cap for Bitcoin by the peak of this cycle. And I never thought, hey, why don't I calculate what $4.7 trillion would be and how that would price out in a single Bitcoin if there are 20 million Bitcoin at the time? Well, guess what? It came out to $234,000 per Bitcoin. I'm saying this all lines up. I'm saying this is what I expect to see at Bitcoin at the peak. Basically $234,000 sometime between July and October of 2025. Now, the question from here is, what happens to the altcoin market? If all of this were to come to fruition, and let's just assume that our crypto market capitalization grows the way I expect it to, Bitcoin's price grows the way I expect it to, what does that mean for the top 10 in the crypto market? And to do that, we're basically going to go and we're going to calculate what those numbers look like on a grand scale. And we're going to basically reference what previous market cycles did with the top 10 and the growth of Bitcoin and where we can expect these numbers to fall in this current cycle. So stick around. We're going to get right to it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm an absolute trading card game fanatic. From Magic the Gathering, L5R, you name it, I've probably played it. Well, I've never played Pokemon. I got to admit that. I've never played that. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is Wargrim, and this is coming very soon, likely within the next 60 days. Make sure you go to wargrim.io and click up here to join the wait list. This is a trading card game on the Cardano blockchain, unlike anything you've seen. This has been in development now for so long. I have been doing all of the art myself. I have a team from literally across the globe that have been building this out. You can check it out now. We do have internal beta testing and more. We have a lot of testing still to come. I just finished assets for over 250 cards for the first core set of the game, as well as 2 starter decks that everybody's going to be able to get. We're probably going to start giving some of this stuff out during Rare Evo coming up in August. So if you're there, come to my booth. You won't be able to miss it. And make sure you sign up, because we're going to be doing some fun giveaways and things related to Wargrim and other things that I'm a part of. Make sure you go to wargrim.io, bookmark it, join the wait list now. You're really going to love this game. Demos coming very soon.